Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your sources, the material you're curious about, and really dig in.
That's right. We try to pull out the most important insights, make it engaging, and hopefully give you those aha moments you're looking for.
And today, you've sent us a really rich collection of material, all focused on short-term mission trips.
Yeah, a mix of things, personal reflections, some very practical advice, and, well, some pretty surprising anecdotes, too.
You mentioned you wanted to get a thorough understanding, but efficiently, cut through the noise.
So our mission for this deep dive, if you will, is to unpack the realities, the good, the bad, the challenging surrounding these trips.
To give you a really well-rounded view beyond maybe the common perception.
Absolutely. We've gone through it all, and it's clear the picture is pretty complex, much more than just hopping on a plane to do good.
Okay, let's jump right in. One thing that really grabbed me from your sources was this. Well, almost funny, but clearly very real breakdown of the stages of a mission trip.
Oh yeah, the 5 phases. It really sets the scene, doesn't it? It starts, apparently, with this very brief moment of glory.
Phase 1. Staying clean and dry and succeeding. Sounds nice.
Fleetingly nice, yeah.
Huh.
Because phase 2 kicks in pretty fast.
Yeah.
Failing to stay clean and dry. The struggle is real, as they say.
And this seems key. You can't stay stuck in that struggle.
Right. The source suggests if you fight it constantly, you'll just be miserable. Which brings us to phase 3.
Remaining dirty and wet and not caring. That's framed as sort of essential for long-term success there.
Pretty much. It's about accepting the conditions.
Yeah.
Not complaining constantly so you can actually focus.
It makes sense. Managing expectations, knowing discomfort is part of it.
Exactly. Because a lot of the real work isn't dramatic stuff. It's finding clean water, it's cooking rice, dealing with sweat.
Yeah, not exactly discovering rare diseases or miracle cures like you might imagine.
Then comes phase 4. Thinking you're going to die and being afraid that you will.
Sounds intense, like the point where the challenges pile up.
Yeah, and maybe it's time to wrap up, head home. Hopefully the project's done by then.
And phase 5. Thinking you're going to die and being afraid that you won't.
Let's sincerely hope nobody actually hits that phase.
Agreed. But okay, moving beyond that slightly harrowing, if relatable, progression.
Yeah.
Your sources also highlight a lot of benefits, right?
Oh, definitely. A big one is how these short trips can actually help long-term career missionaries.
How so? By taking on some of the workload.
Precisely. It frees them up a bit, lets them focus on maybe the more strategic, long-term stuff they need to do.
And for the people going on the trip, it's not just about giving, is it?
Not at all. It's a huge learning opportunity. You get this firsthand look at the missionaries' lives, their needs, struggles, joys.
Which leads to better support back home, more informed prayer, that kind of thing.
Exactly. You actually know what you're praying about. Plus, the cultural immersion itself is powerful.
Right. Being in a totally different environment, maybe sharing your faith for the first time. One source suggested that can actually feel easier sometimes. It's possible. Fewer social constraints, maybe. And then there's the connection aspect.
You mean the emotional and spiritual ties that form?
Yeah, between the team, the missionaries, the local people. It becomes this mutual ministry thing. Everyone gets something out of it.
Plus the practical side, bringing specific skills, delivering needed equipment. That's tangible.
Definitely. And a key point that kept coming up in your materials is the impact on the person going.
How so?
The sources strongly suggest it's almost guaranteed to have a long-term positive effect on them. Personal growth, changed perspective.
Worth the cost,
Yeah.
essentially.
That's the argument presented. High value return on investment personally and spiritually.
Okay, but that brings up some critical questions that were also in your sources. Like, is this just a fad? Is it self-indulgent?
Really important questions. Is it just voluntourism dressed up? Is it actually necessary?
And the answer seems to depend on a few things.
Yeah. According to the sources, it boils down to, is this genuinely a response to God's call? And what are the actual fruits?
Fruits meaning positive outcomes. Right. For the host community, for the individual who went, and even for the church or group that sent them. Are things tangibly better?
The general vibe from the participants described seemed pretty positive, though. Acceptance, flexibility.
Very much so. A willingness to adapt, find ways to serve, roll with the punches when things go sideways.
And many come back changed, right? With a new sense of purpose, maybe seeing the Great Commission differently.
Exactly. It stops being just this abstract global idea and becomes relevant locally, too. A changed worldview.
Some of the anecdotes really drove home the unexpected realities, though, the cultural nuances.
Oh, absolutely. Like that story of the woman at the medical clinic.
Yeah, she traveled really far, not for medicine, but just for a toy, for her daughter.
It completely challenges your assumptions about needs and priorities, doesn't it?
It really does. And it connects to another point, raise the caution about just handing out stuff.
Hmm. The lavish giving. The concern is it can mask the real message. Is it about God's love or just about the freebies?
Which then leads to that tricky ethical question about sincerity, if material benefits are tied to conversions.
It's a complex issue. Forces you to think about long-term impact and motivations.
Definitely. And this all seems to tie into another major theme, the kinds of skills that are actually useful. It's not just doctors and preachers, is it?
Far from it. That story about the plumbers and electricians going to Guatemala.
Right. They initially felt kind of useless, didn't they? Like, what could they do?
Yeah, but they ended up being essential for the construction work, even teaching younger team members practical skills.
The takeaway being that mission work isn't some specialized job, but a context where everyday skills matter hugely.
Absolutely. It challenges that whole idea of who's qualified. Take Scott, the computer guy.
Oh, yeah, he felt totally out of place at first, right? Doubting his contribution in a, quote, third world setting.
But then he gets to the YWAM base and finds their admin systems are a mess. His tech skills ended up being revolutionary for them.
Needs aren't always obvious, like Patrick, the chaperone.
The self-proclaimed useless appendage, who then finds these dangerous, ungrounded water heaters shocking people.
Wow. He potentially saved people from serious harm just by noticing something from his everyday experience.
And Peter, the construction logistics guy who didn't speak Spanish.
He brought order to the chaos of Guatemala time on that chapel project.
Exactly. His organizational skills were crucial, even with the language barrier.
Even Paula, the hairdresser on the medical brigade.
Her role wasn't curing malaria, sure, but that act of care, of attention, it's presented as a powerful way of showing God's love, tangibly.
So the cost isn't just money. It's dealing with unexpected, sometimes messy challenges.
Like the overflowing septic system story. A very down-to-earth problem with no easy fix apparent.
And the medical limitations sound incredibly tough, seeing a huge goiter and having basically no diagnostic tools.
Just relying on clinical judgment and, well, a lot of prayer. Making critical decisions with very little data.
There's that weird contrast, too, like mangoes literally falling off trees, abundance everywhere.
But basic logistics are a nightmare. Getting things where they need to go is hard.
The sources also stress the importance of trustworthy hosts. That seems critical.
Hugely. There was that alarming story about the guy with the shady background meant to host a youth group. You have to do your homework.
Investigate the organizations thoroughly.
Definitely. And the North Korea example with the scripted church services.
Right. A stark reminder that things aren't always what they seem. Need to know who you're partnering with.
But it's not all negative warnings. There were powerful stories, too, like the Rwanda trip during the refugee crisis.
Finding safety and purpose even in incredibly dangerous, heartbreaking situations.
A real sense of God's provision amidst the chaos.
And just the sheer unpredictability of travel itself seems like a constant. Lost luggage, canceled flights.
The nervous pilot landing on a bumpy airstrip.
Yeah.
That's all part of the adventure, I suppose.
Plus, that lack of freedom in some places, like the North Korea example again. Constant monitoring.
Yeah, the ever-present guide.
Yeah.
Intense.
Given all that potential stress and unpredictability, prayer support makes a lot of sense as a major theme.
Absolutely essential, according to your sources. Before, during, after, it's foundational.
I like that practical idea of getting multiple families to pray per team member.
And the wristbands, as reminders and conversation starters back home. Keeps the connection going.
Alongside prayer, cultural sensitivity came up again and again. It's non-negotiable, isn't it?
Totally. Good intentions aren't enough. You have to learn about the culture beforehand.
Like that incident in the Philippines with the healthcare worker. The team meant well, but
They didn't follow local protocol, didn't include the right people, and caused offense. Need to seek approvals.
and understanding things like personal space differences seems small, but clearly important.
Crucial. What's normal for us might be way off somewhere else.
The Chile Women's Mission, focusing specifically on ministering to women, shows that cultural tailoring.
Right. Their prep was more Bible study and prayer than language drills, focusing on spiritual needs in a relevant way.
And even simple things like appropriate dress, don't want to destroy your witness over clothing choices.
Respecting local time orientation, how space is used,
Mhm.
it all matters.
Then there's communication. Oh boy. The language bloopers.
Embarrassada for embarrassed. Anos for años.
Yeah.
Yeah, some classics there. Funny, but they show the potential for real mix-ups.
Like the eardrop story. How easily instructions get garbled.
Total reliance on translators, often,
Mm,
and hoping they get it right.
that's
Especially tough in really remote places like Awuska, Honduras, apparently.
But technology helps now, right? Email was mentioned as revolutionary.
Huge impact. Faster contact with home supporters, but also a new responsibility to keep people updated.
Okay, physical dangers. There was some dark humor, like the alien abduction story for needing rest.
Yeah, but the limited medical resources, that's serious. Constantly wishing for basic stuff like an x-ray machine.
And having to manage a heart attack with what? Tylenol, #4? That's intense resourcefulness born of necessity.
Shows the need for flexibility, too. Teams change, skills vary, you adapt.
Plus the basic living conditions, heat, bugs, lots of bugs.
The sources did not skimp on describing the insects. Gives you a real feel for the environment.
But then moments of pure joy, like Pizza Hut after roughing it. Small comforts become huge.
Definitely. Though the descriptions of serious medical needs, the goiter, the heart block, and knowing you can't fix it all.
That must be tough, leaving after making connections, seeing the ongoing need.
Heavy aspects, for sure.
But then completely unexpected blessings pop up in the stories too.
Like the sudden upgrade to first class and running into Mother Teresa in India. You can't plan that.
Or the rental car with bad brakes that crash.
And then gets mysteriously fixed by El Viejo. Moments of grace or sheer luck amidst the chaos.
Even getting robbed at that mosquito-ridden hotel led to some kind of reaffirmation of God's control.
Seems so. Finding meaning even in the negative experiences.
Okay, shifting to very practical advice from your sources. Health and safety, this was detailed.
Extremely. Immunizations, preventive meds, careful food and water choices. The basics are hammered home.
Acknowledge travel risks, but mitigate them through preparation.
And the water purification section was super specific, boiling, iodine, chlorine, with all the timings and cautions.
They covered a ton of potential health issues, too. Altitude sickness, accidents, cholera, malaria, dengue.
Jet lag, traveler's diarrhea, a big one, with prevention and treatment advice, including oral rehydration.
Right, even listing potential exposures from a specific trip to Honduras, noting delayed symptoms. Very thorough.
And then there was the whole section on disaster preparedness.
Yeah, that was comprehensive. Acknowledging you can't predict them, but you can prepare.
Principles like education, prevention, mitigation, having a plan for the team and potentially to help the community.
Post-disaster steps too: assessment, communication with authorities, monitoring for illness.
Evacuation plans, emergency supplies, caloric needs, even how to make oral rehydration solution at home.
Plus, specific tips for earthquakes, floods, volcanoes.
And that important caution. Don't just send random stuff after a disaster. Unsolicited goods can cause more problems.
So, boiling it all down, what are the key principles for short-term missions according to these sources?
Well, first, the idea that every Christian is called to mission, but not necessarily this specific kind of foreign trip.
It's costly, but potentially very valuable, and prayer is always step one.
Absolutely. Then, thorough prep, but also radical flexibility. A servant attitude is crucial. You're an ambassador.
Lots of practical how-tos were included too: support letters, timelines, packing lists.
How to engage culturally, keep a sense of humor, focus on relationships, not just tasks, avoid comparisons.
Don't overpromise, take initiative, be ready for anything. It's a long list.
And specific advice on giving testimonies effectively, tailoring them, focusing on recent experiences.
The ethical guidelines seemed really important too, ensuring benefits for everyone involved.
Yes, outlining responsibilities for the participant, the sending group, the host, partnership, proper selection, orientation, support, re-entry.
The sample application questions showed how much thought goes into doing it responsibly.
It aims for a standard of care and mutual respect.
And finally, for anyone wanting to dig deeper, you found some recommended resources.
Yeah, the CDC website for health info, obviously, and several books on missions and cross-cultural work were listed.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive. It's crystal clear short-term missions are complex, not simple at all.
Definitely multifaceted. Huge potential for good, for growth, but also packed with challenges requiring real thought and sensitivity.
Hopefully you, our listener, now have that deeper, more nuanced understanding you were looking for. beyond the easy assumptions.
Yeah, seeing the different angles, the
Yeah.
benefits, the pitfalls, the practicalities, the heart behind it.
So here's a final thought to leave you with, based on everything we've unpacked from your sources.
Yeah.
Considering all these factors, the joys, the ethical questions, the cultural complexities, what does meaningful service truly look like for you?
Right. Whether that's somewhere far away or maybe right where you are, something to reflect on, maybe applying some of these insights to your own context.
And definitely check out those resources if specific areas sparked your interest.
Thanks again for sending in such great material for us to dive into. It was fascinating.
Absolutely. Thanks for trusting us with your sources.